Welcome back to the Matt and Eric Talk Twins podcast. I'm here with my co-host Matt. That makes me Eric, and we have, I'd say, a lot to talk about this week for the Twins having spent most of the last week on the All-Star break. But of course, before we get into anything else, Matt, how are we feeling about the Twins?
The vibes are low. I mean, it was a rough game. Anyone who watched the series finale against Chicago, there's nothing positive to take from it. So the vibes are lower than I would hope, but overall, still feeling okay.
Yeah, forever the optimist. I guess all I have to say is it was only 3 games, right? At least it wasn't that bad.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely could be worse. I mean, they played well in the first game. It just kind of fell apart from there, and I mean, a lot of it just had to do with their pitching staff, especially the starters.
Yeah, I mean, when you're dropping a 10-1 game on your getaway game on Sunday, that's going to be the storyline. Somehow I would still rather talk about that than whatever went down at the end of Saturday's game. I was watching at a Buffalo Wild Wings with a bunch of buddies, and we watched the game from 3 different TVs, and we watched all 5 replays, and I still didn't really understood what happened until I saw the entire base running blunder on Twitter later.
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough one. Obviously, like Josh Bell played that pretty poorly, getting caught off of third, especially like getting caught off of third, but not being off for long enough to let the other base runners move up or even get back to a base. Like he just created a double play where it really should have just been Brooks Lee running himself out. But yeah, I mean, a brutal way to kill a rally in the ninth.
Yeah, I'm curious where you would assign the blame here. So when I watched it over, I thought about it. At first, you naturally want to blame Josh Bell, and I do think there's a bit of that. He was treating that primarily like a tag-up situation, and when you're down by that many runs in the ninth, I don't think you're that worried about advancing 90 feet. To me, Josh Bell should have been, at the very least, firmly planted halfway between second and third base so that he's getting back to second if somehow PCA gets to that ball, because even if he does, he's laying out for the catch. I promise you, Josh Bell is able to run 45 feet faster than PCA can jump to his feet, make a throw, and get the tag applied. That being said, I still think this has got to be on both base coaches, both Grady Sizemore and especially the third base coach. I'm not gonna lie, I don't remember who the third base coach is.
Ramon Borrego.
Yeah, shout out Ramon Borrego. Anyways, maybe not, because he should have been the one telling Josh Bell to get on your horse and get going. You have to see that from the coach, who doesn't have to worry about running positioning, and know that PCA is just not getting to that ball, and you need to get Josh Bell going.
Okay, I have the opposite point of view because Josh Bell's run doesn't matter. I don't really care about the jump he gets. Like, yes, you would like to move each of those guys up an extra base. Like, if that falls in and Josh Bell's on his horse, Brooks Lee's probably on second. You can probably get Caratini to third and a run scores. Sure, everyone gets an extra 90 feet. That's great. But the tying run wasn't even on base yet. So moving guys up 90 feet is not really worthwhile in the ninth inning unless you're 100% sure that they're going to be safe. And so Josh Bell playing cautious and going station to station is what I'd like to see in that situation. I think the blame falls squarely on Brooks Lee's shoulders. He was obviously running with his head down, trying to turn it into a double, which, like, sure, if there's no one on base, that's fine. Or if it's earlier in the game. But, like, in that situation, he has to be cautious and, like, he has to be aware of the runners in front of him and make sure that he's not running guys off. That's what every base coach, every coach since the Little League will tell you. Like, your run doesn't matter. Don't run off the guy in front of you. That's exactly what he did. And honestly, I think it caught Sizemore and Borrego by surprise because what are we doing? Like, why are you running guys off in the big leagues in the ninth inning of a close game?
So you wouldn't assign any of that blame to Sizemore at all? Because to me, I think he's the other big culprit, right? I get Brooks Lee running with his head down, terrible example. But if you're Grady Sizemore, you have to see that Josh Bell was not going home, and that would mean everybody else is getting backed up. And you have to get big, you have to get loud, you have to get Brooks Lee's attention and make sure that he is not moving past first base.
Yeah, but like that's never the first base coach's call on that play. Like, sure, you'd like for him to stop Brooks Lee, but like if you're a base runner, like if you're the batter and you hit a ball to left center, you're never even looking at your first base coach. It's 100% your read, your ball, if you can make it to second.
No, I'm not talking about Brooks, or I'm not talking about Grady Sizemore making a call. I'm just talking about him being reactionary. I'm talking about him probably also ball watching to see if P. Crow Armstrong even caught that, because if he's not,
But
he has to immediately recognize what's happening.
The point is, he can yell and do whatever he wants. Brooksley's not paying attention to Grady Sizemore. Like, Brooksley's watching the ball, because at no point ever on a ball hit to left center are you looking at your first base coach.
No, but
and
it's
also,
my first
the
base.
whole stadium's yelling. You're not going to hear Grady Sizemore. You're not looking at him. Brooksley just cranked the ball into the gap. He's watching that ball, and he's making his own reaction of whether he should go for second, and he made the wrong call. It's not on the base coach, who's not even involved in the play, really.
I maybe don't need to assign blame to Grady Sizemore, but I still have to believe that if Grady Sizemore is doing jumping jacks in his little coaching box and screaming, "Stop, stop, stop, Brooksley, get back here, stop," that he's got to notice something.
Sure, but the fact that he even has to do that in that situation is Brooksley's fault. It would be great if Sizemore was super loud and prevented an error from happening, but really Brooksley should have just not been in that situation in the first place. And then I think after the throw comes in, it's Josh Bell's fault for getting caught off of third. That was just dumb. But the start of the play is 100% on Lee.
Yeah, no, 100%. If you're Josh Bell, you have to know that you're not making home on that play, and at that point, you become the lead runner. And to me, securing third base is most important. You can't be rounding third that hard, and you certainly can't be doing it without being ready to dive back to third on a moment's notice, because if I remember correctly, the ball went to the catcher, and he was still just caught flat-footed and thrown out at third, was he not?
Yeah, I don't remember the exact sequence of throws, but essentially he just got caught off a third. And if you're the lead runner and you already have the base established, there's no point in leaving that base.
Absolutely. All of this became a moot point Sunday. The Twins decided that they weren't going to allow such minor details to hamper their ability to lose. Zebby came out here and just got absolutely shelled. He was responsible for all 10 runs the Cubs scored, 8 of them earned. I didn't get to watch the game, was watching the World Cup. From what I've heard, what I've seen, I think you could argue how many of those are earned. What you cannot argue is that it was an absolute blow-up for Zebby.
Yeah, I mean, the defense behind him was rough. In particular, Luke Keeschel made one of the worst plays I've ever seen from a center fielder. First of all, it's a line drive hit right at him in a little bit. He breaks back, then takes kind of a hesitant, not great route in. And he kind of got caught in between, right? If he was running full speed, he probably catches it on his feet. Even with a bad read, he can probably lay out and catch it. Instead, he decides to play the liner on a hop, misreads it, it skips by him, all 3 runs score, and the runner ends up on third. He played probably an out into a bases clearing triple. I mean, that was the middle of this blow up. But you could very easily argue that 3 of those runs wouldn't have scored if you just had Buxton out there, or if you just had a regular center fielder.
Absolutely, but once again, we've talked about the defense all year. We're going to talk about it again. Luke Keeschel is athletic. He has made some great catches out in center field. He's looked good. He's also not a center fielder. He's going to continue to make boneheaded mistakes like that because he does not have the repetitions and the natural instinct to be out there in center field. If you want to train him up in the middle of the offseason to be a center fielder, sure, go ahead and try it. But I do still think they're doing a bit of a misservice to Luke Keeschel here.
Yeah, but the counterpoint is Luke Keeschel has a 400 on base percentage since the beginning of May. And so he's so productive as a hitter that he has to play somewhere. And it's not like his second base defense has been any good.
No, certainly not his second base defense. Austin Martin got the start in left field today. I get that's because we were facing a lefty pitcher. I don't care. Bump Austin Martin, put Luke Keeschel out in left, or move Cody Clemens over to left, put Luke Keeschel in the right. I don't care what you want to do. We're at the point where if you're looking to get Luke Keeschel into the game, even if it means he's out of position just to get his bat in there, then at that point, yeah, why even bother with the platoon splits? Why don't we just see Luke Keeschel out in left field, and I don't know, let's put Ryan Kreidler in center, and then we can have Tristan Gray at short. Or I mean, that might be the bad example, just because like I don't want to see Tristan Gray. You can't tell
You
me
can't
there's
tell me you want Tristan Gray to play shortstop to make our defense better.
I don't want yeah, you caught me there. I'm sure Derek Shelton could have come up with something that would have allowed us to just get Austin Martin out of the lineup altogether. But I mean, in a 9-run loss, this is just kind of nitpicking, really, to me.
Yeah, I mean, it was just a bad game all around. Keeschel definitely didn't help anything in center. I mean, we're kind of in the same spot with Keeschel that we were with Austin Martin when he first came up, where it's like, this guy's really athletic. He's a good player. Can he play center field? We think probably eventually, but like right now, the reads are rough. The feel for the position isn't great, but you give him a year or two. I mean, Austin Martin has been worth 6 defensive runs saved in the outfield this year as a part-time player. And so, like, you can definitely train up outfielders. I have all the confidence in the world that the Twins can get Luke Keeschel to be an above-average defensive outfielder. It's just really tough to have him learn on the fly in the middle of a season. And they're kind of in a rough spot because it's not like you have really any other choices because his bat needs to be in the lineup.
So I think my solution here, now that I've stewed on it for a second, does Alan Roden not have some center field experience? And quite honestly, even if he doesn't, like an outfielder's an outfielder. I think he's got the speed and athleticism to be a center fielder. I'd rather see that over Luke Keeschel.
Yeah, I mean, the Twins have talked since acquiring Alan Roden that they think he's center field capable, and yet he has yet to log an inning in center field this year. Like, he has just been standing around in right field. And when you're playing a guy who has a total of 9 starts in center field, it makes me think they don't actually believe that Alan Roden can play center field.
Yeah, and that one's really frustrating because, again, we want to talk about getting good bats into the lineup. I don't know if Alan Roden is going to be a good bat when he doesn't have a platoon advantage, but we're not going to find out if he's sitting on the bench in favor of Austin Martin. I would like to see them getting more aggressive here in the second half at giving guys chances outside of their natural platoon until they've really shown that they don't belong there. Because Austin Martin doesn't really look like he belongs hitting left-handed hitters or pitchers either.
I mean, yeah, if Austin Martin's not going to start against left-handed pitchers, what's he doing on the roster? And like you might say, who cares? Like, we don't want Austin Martin on this roster anyways. But like, I mean, he's got to play at some point, right?
Does he? Like, we gave him his run. We've given him a lot of run in a lot of years, actually. And we even let him become a more or less everyday player at the start of the season when he was hot. To me, Austin Martin has gotten every opportunity, and I am no longer prioritizing him in my lineup if I'm Derek Shelton.
Yeah, but I mean, at that point, you're just playing with a super short roster. Like, if you're not going to play Austin Martin really ever, you currently are holding up a bench spot for Alex Jackson to never play behind 2 other catchers. I mean, it becomes a really dysfunctional position player group if you choose to never play Austin Martin.
Yeah, the Twins have had a lot of opportunities to reshuffle their roster with A, the trade deadline coming up, and B, as we've mentioned so much, all of these young guys that are knocking on the door. And instead, they have really just continued to do the most confusing thing at every turn. I can't remember the last time I've seen a team carry 3 catchers for any extended amount of time. Could you tell me, Matt?
Okay, but the reason they're doing it is because Alex Jackson has been pretty good this year. He's a good defender. He's controllable. But also, like, they probably are still thinking about trading Ryan Jeffers at the deadline. And if that's the case, you need Alex Jackson to be your backup catcher. Otherwise, you're going to be looking around for a backup, and you probably won't find someone as good as him, even though Alex Jackson's not that great. The world of backup catchers gets dark in a hurry. And so the Twins are carrying 3 guys so they don't lose an option before they end up trading an option.
Yeah, I guess I will say with Caratini's eligibility to flex into first base, it does give them some sort of room to carry 3 catchers for what will certainly only end up being 3-4 weeks tops. Because I imagine if Ryan Jeffers does make it through the trade deadline and is still a Minnesota Twin, that at that point they probably are comfortable cutting bait with Alex Jackson. If he gets DFA'd and doesn't make it through waivers, so be it. You could probably re-sign him this offseason if you really want him that badly. So there's bigger bones to pick, but it's certainly going to be frustrating for at least a few weeks here during a stretch that the Twins really, really need to be all hands on deck for.
Yeah, I mean, you could also probably flip Alex Jackson for a marginal prospect at the deadline. Like, you could get, I mean, the Twins gave up Peyton Neals for him. You could get a Peyton Neals level of prospect for him at the deadline. I mean, I don't think that matters a whole lot, but like, they won't lose him for nothing.
No, I wouldn't believe that they would, but that's something that we probably won't have an answer to for a few weeks here.
Okay. Also, while we're talking about today's game, right? Like, it was pretty rough defensively. I thought Brooks Lee made some good plays at third. He also had one play that he probably should have made. It was hit hard. It was a tough ball, but he ended up getting scored an error on it. Royce Lewis looked spotty at second base. He booted a ball, but still got the out. He made a nice leaping catch. I thought overall he just looked fine at second. The defense was okay. The pitching was not. Zebby Matthews, he gave up a lot of hits and a lot of hard contact in 0-2, 1-2 counts, which goes along with a lot of what we've seen from Zebby. He throws a lot of strikes, almost too many strikes, and he tends to get hit hard. And he just didn't have good feel for his breaking stuff. He was leaving it over the plate. He was getting hit hard on the off speed. And I just want to say, Zebby looked decent to start the year in the majors when he first got called up. But at this point in Zebby's career, this is his third big league season. And he had, in his first season, 9 starts for a 6.69 ERA. Last year, 16 starts for a 5.56 ERA. This year, 12 starts for a 5.4 ERA. So overall, across 37 starts and 187 innings, Zebby Matthews has a 5.73 ERA in the big leagues. Is he a real starting option at this point?
I mean, I think the Twins answered that for us really when he started the year in AAA and took so long to get up here. The issue is, and this is only going to be compounded by the news today, that David Festa and Mick Abel are both uncertain on timelines, but likely to not pitch again this year, is the word from Dan Hayes. Obviously, that leaves a little bit of ambiguity, but by and large, while I think you can make a great case that Zebby Matthews is not a starting pitcher for a competent baseball team, we're right back to what else are you going to do? Are you going to stand up here and now vouch for Mike Paredes to get starts over Zebby Matthews again? Because unless we make the move for a starter at the trade deadline, that's what we're looking at really realistically for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I mean, what a strange world we live in, given our expectations over the offseason that our starting pitching was going to be the best part of this team, that now the offense is carrying us, and we're talking about having to acquire a starting pitcher. I mean, the Twins have run into a series of injuries, right? I mean, Prelip's out with a blister right now. He'll probably be back in the next week or so. But, like, right away in spring training, Pablo goes down for the year. Then David Festa goes down with shoulder soreness. It looks like he's not even going to throw a pitch for the team. And then Mick Abel leaves with elbow inflammation / tricep strain. And then the Twins said, oh, he'll probably miss the minimum. He'll probably miss a couple starts, be back in 15 days. He's going to be out for the season. I mean, that's some awful luck from 3 starters that the Twins were really hoping would be big parts of their pitching plans, and they're going to get a combined like 22 innings out of them.
Yeah, it really, I think, reframes the mindset that you have to attack every offseason with, because I remember we were sitting here, 6 months ago, talking about how the Twins had a glut of starting pitchers. We were trying to forecast their opening day rotation. I remember I was a really big advocate for the 6-man rotation, and I thought that even with a 6-man rotation, you'd still be leaving out 1 or 2 guys that deserved to see big league action on opening day. And now, yeah, I think you laid it out quite well. And it really just goes to show that people say it all the time. You can never have too much starting pitching. It's one of, I would say, the most overused cliches in baseball. But if we know anything about cliches in life, they're only a cliche because they're true. They're accurate and they're real. And unfortunately for the Twins, they're learning about it once again.
Yeah, it's just a tough spot. Like almost any team in baseball, if you say, "Hey, you're going to lose 3 of your top 5 starting pitchers or 3 of your top 6 starting pitchers," it's not going to be good, right? Like I think any team in baseball, if you told them that they're going to lose 3 of their top 6 guys, they're going to throw a combined 22 innings this season, that's going to be a team that's in desperate need for rotation help. But also, I think the Twins haven't done themselves any favors in a couple of ways. Namely, I think that they've kind of mishandled Kendry Rojas at times. We've talked about how he's one of their 13 best starting pitch or 13 best pitchers. They need to use him. The bullpen's so bad. He just needs to be on the major league roster in some capacity. But when the Twins have done that, he's been kind of in a multi-inning role, trying to progress on the fly. He's not really getting built up as a starting pitcher. And now we're at the point where he's not a real starting option. And the Twins' other starting pitching options are really gross. Like it's bad. I don't know if you've looked in AAA, but like there's not help on the way.
Judging by the fact that the last time we hit this point, Mike Paredes was the answer, and my first response was, "Who the hell is Mike Paredes? Where did this MLB The Show My Player create a character come from?" I can't imagine what it would look like if we dip back into that pool a second time. But
Well, I mean, okay, look at our rotation right now, right? You have Ryan, Bradley, Ober, Zebby. Like Zebby's the fourth starter. So on Tuesday, when the Twins play in Cleveland, they still haven't announced a starter. And looking at who they have in the bullpen, who they have on the roster as potential options, they still have Mike Paredes and Kendry Rojas. They could do some sort of piggyback setup, except both of those guys threw yesterday on Saturday night. Paredes threw 2 innings, Kendry threw 1. I mean, they'll have at that point like 2 days, 3 days of rest going into Tuesday's game. So like you could probably have them piggyback their 2 or 3 innings apiece and just patch it together. But like that's not going to be a good solution, right? Especially against a division rival that you're trying to chase down in the standings. And then you look at who the Twins have in AAA for starting pitchers. You have John Klein, who got shelled in the big leagues this year and has a FIP of over 6 in AAA. You have Ryan Gallagher, who's really their only prospect starting in AAA. And he's averaged about 5 innings per start, but he also has a FIP above 6. And then you have Jack Anderson, who they just claimed off of waivers from the Red Sox, and he has a FIP of over 5 in AAA. And those are your 3 options. Like, it's going to be one of those guys if it's not Paredes and Rojas. It's just bad.
now, hear me out. Catchers are known for having big arms, obviously. And Alex Jackson does already have 1 recorded appearance on the mound this year. Would you rather see Alex Jackson or would you rather see the Twins swing Simeon Woods Richardson back onto this roster? At this point, I think both of those feel just as likely, and they're far from a non-zero chance, which is the really scary part to me.
Well, big dog, Simeon Woods Richardson's in AAA for the Blue Jays.
Yeah, but like AAA for the Blue Jays would still be starting in the majors right now for us.
Oh, you're saying if the Twins held on to Sim this long?
No, I'm saying like let's trade for him again. All right, whatever we got from the Blue Jays, just send it right back. It was cash, right? We'll pay you double.
Well, the Blue Jays put him through waivers shortly after, and nobody claimed him, so they could have gotten him for free.
That I think really would have been the real trick. Hey, you want to see me turn Simeon Woods Richardson into like $500,000? You want to see me do it again? I mean, it's laughable. Obviously it's a fantasy land, but why? Why are we at this spot? The Twins, we deserve better, and we need to do better.
Yeah, I think probably what's actually going to happen is that the Twins. So, as part of Zebby's blow up today, the Twins then used Travis Adams for 3 innings, and then they also threw. I think they threw Funderburk for 2 innings. Let me look. No, they only threw Funderburk for 1. I think Adams is for sure going to be optioned for a fresh arm. He's going to be burnt for pretty much this whole Cleveland series, and he's not a guy that they were going to count on for leverage spots anyways. And so he probably goes down. I would imagine they bring up like Eric Orzi, or maybe they let Taylor Rashi make his debut with the team.
I mean, I don't know when the last time he pitched is, but to me, it does seem pretty obvious. Like you already mentioned it, it's going to be a Kendry Rojas and Mike Paredes piggyback game. They've already done it a few times, and it's going to be better than anything else they could scrape together. I don't need to see Taylor Rashi. I don't need to see whatever the hell they can conjure from AAA. At least they do have like something logical to do.
Yeah, so I'm saying those guys are definitely going to be the pitching plan for Tuesday, but just overall, they're going to need a fresh arm in that bullpen. Like, they're not going to hold Travis Adams for the whole Cleveland series when he probably won't pitch. So, like, regardless, they'll probably send down Adams to pick up like Eric Orzi or Cody Lawyerson or Taylor Rashi. And I think that we probably will have, you know, the piggyback of Paredes and Rojas, and then also really just a bullpen game where they empty the whole pen and throw everyone on Tuesday. And they really hope that Joe Ryan goes long on Monday to make that a possibility.
This is going to be such a terrible spot for Joe Ryan. So I was talking with Matt about it this weekend, and it unfortunately kind of came to fruition. Joe Ryan's in a really tough spot now, right? Because the Twins, after dropping 2 or 3 to the Cubs, are now 2 games below 500. The Red Sox are the team in that group. I mean, we knew that there was going to be at least one, if not 2 teams in this group of, what was it, like 8 teams that were all within 4 games of each other for the third wild card spot. That was going to get hot and push every other team to really make a decision on how they're viewing this season. Looks like that's going to be the Red Sox, winners of now 13 straight, putting them only 2 games ahead of the Twins for the third wild card spot. But the slide needs to stop. This is what killed the team last year, right? They came into the break only 1 game behind where they came into the break this year. Got there a lot different way. They were very much on a slide when they got there compared to this year where they came in winning 9 of 10 series. The outcome is the same. Last year, they came out of the gates on an absolute stinker, dropped series to Colorado and the Dodgers, and that ended their season. That ended that version of the Twins. We saw the sell-off happen very quickly after that. They're not quite in that big of a crunch this season just because the deadline is August 3rd this year, I believe, a little bit into August, the latest it could possibly be. But either way, they need to start winning. This is an absolutely massive series. I think I'm ready to call this the 3 most important games the Twins will play this year against the Guardians.
So it's a 4-game series against the Guardians.
The 4 biggest games they're going to play this year against the Guardians.
Yeah, I mean, if the Twins get swept or like even lose 3 out of 4 to the Guardians, the chances in the division look a lot worse. As you talked about, we've seen the Red Sox surge in the wild card. Yeah, I still think probably it'll take 85-ish wins to take that final wild card spot. Can the Twins get there? Maybe. It's going to require some reinforcements. Like, they have to win to force the team to make a push at the deadline. So, yeah, I mean, we knew coming out of the break that these next 2 weeks are going to be make or break for this Twins team. And now after losing the opening series against the Cubs, it's even more so. The Twins need to be hot. They need to play good baseball for a couple weeks. Otherwise, not only will this team probably not get reinforcements, but they'll probably trade away some pieces. So, I mean, we won't know until we get to the deadline. We won't know until all of these games happen. But it's all the more reason to be following the Twins really closely over the next couple weeks.
Absolutely. I know I'm going to be watching very closely tomorrow night because even if the Twins are going to sit here and say, hey, we've got some time, these 4 games against Cleveland aren't going to singularly decide what our team does at the deadline. It's got to be in their minds a little bit, right? I know they're pro athletes. I know their job is to go out on that mound and shut out the noise and just throw the ball. But you've got to know if you're Joe Ryan that you're more or less pitching for the continuance of your Twins' career here. He needs to go out there and dazzle. The Twins need lightning in a bottle from this Paredes and Rojas combo. And then after that, Bailey Ober needs to go back out and dazzle again on Wednesday to really lock down this series, because if Joe Ryan goes out there and sets the tone with a stinker, the Twins drop game one, and then they go in there and their bullpen game, probably predictably, let's be honest, falls apart. All of a sudden, we are now in complete panic mode. We've dropped 4 straight. We're 4 games under 500. And I guarantee you 29, well, not 29, probably 20 other teams in the league are calling about Joe Ryan already.
So said like a true Twins fan, fearing the worst and knowing that the worst will probably happen. But I mean, it's exactly the spot that you want Joe Ryan in, right? Like he's clearly the Twins' best pitcher. He's already been worth 3.3 WAR on the season. Like he is your guy. He's the guy that you want to set the tone for this pitching staff. You need a big win out of him. And like if you were going to pick any guy on this Twins roster to throw a game, it's not even a question. It's going to be Joe Ryan. And so having him throw game one against Cleveland, I feel like is the best spot for him.
For sure. I don't want to get too down on our luck after 2 losses, because we are still in a position where we could go either way. I will be grateful that we are in July, and instead of talking about trade packages right now, like we definitely assumed we would be doing at the start of the year, we do get to sit here and talk about how electric it's going to be to watch Joe Ryan go out to the mound in a do or die game for the Twins in July.
Yeah, I mean, it's been an interesting season. I think a lot has gone differently than we would have thought coming into the season. But there's also some things that have gone predictably. Like the bullpen's gone poorly, the defense has gone poorly. But overall, definitely just happy that it's been an entertaining and at times enjoyable ride.
I could not word that any better. So instead, I think I'm going to let that usher us into our next segment here. This is an idea that me and Matt cooked up about week and a half ago. I'm really excited to bring it to you guys. We are doing a bit of a first half by the numbers here. Obviously, with the Twins spending most of the week on All-Star break and predictably not having a lot of representation there to talk about, we decided instead that we were going to do what we do best as the nerdy baseball fans. And we did a bit of a deep dive individually. We went in, we looked at the Twins by the numbers in the first half, and we've each came here today with a small handful of different numbers. Doesn't necessarily have to be stats. I imagine a lot of them will be, that we believe represents the 2026 Minnesota Twins to the best of our ability. So we're going to go back and forth here. It's a bit of a game. We're going to try and guess what each number means. Obviously, we'll have the context behind it then and go into it. But Matt, I'll defer to you. What's your first number you've got for me today?
-13.
Ooh, this feels like a defensive number to me. I do think this might be a little easier because I imagine we looked at a lot of the same leaderboards when we were doing this, but I'm going to guess that -13 is the total defensive run saved by the Minnesota Twins this year.
You're close. So the overall defensive run save for the Twins this year is -26. -13 is just their combined shortstops. Actually, I undersold it. It's -14. I forgot about Orlando Arcia. -14 is their combined shortstops.
Go. I'm personally a little upset that we forgot about Orlando Arcia here, but yeah, I would like to say that surprises me just because Ryan Kreidler, I know, is I think 1 outs above average, which, has been able to stabilize the position somewhat this season, but overall, yeah, that one does not come as a shock to me at all.
Yeah, I love the Twins fans like on Twitter that are like, man, Ryan Kreidler, defensive wizard. And he's been good. He's like barely above league average. But they're just the Twins fans are used to seeing Brooks Lee and his -8 outs above average in 44 games at short, and Tristan Gray and his -6 in 32 games. The bar is on the floor.
It really is. And I'm going to follow that up here with a number of my own. I'll give you a little bit of a hint. This is a rank because I think you're going to need it. My first number for you here is 27th.
Bullpen ERA.
We are not talking bullpen ERA here.
Byron Buxton WAR on the season.
That would be pretty cool. I imagine it might be even higher. 27th is where the Twins rank overall for the season in total shortstop WAR on the year. It is tied for their lowest mark by any position group on the Twins with the bullpen.
Yeah, I mean, the shortstops, we like to hammer them. We've hit them in both of our first two stats, but like that's really the big thing that's been holding this Twins team back is shortstop performance. It's why we talk about Kalen Culpepper so much, why the Twins really need him to hit.
Not just need him to hit, the Twins need him to play. I don't know what he's doing in AAA at this point.
He's injured still.
Huh?
He's back on the IL in AAA.
Oh, is he back on the IL? I don't know if I picked up on that. What's he on the IL with?
He re-injured his glute.
Well,
he's played like 2 games in the last 2 months.
Anyways, the moment he's activated, give him, I guess it would be not a rehab start because he's in AAA, but functionally give him like 5 rehab starts in AAA, and he needs to be on this roster yesterday. Like, this could not be more of a glaring need for the Twins right now.
I mean, if he was healthy, he would have been on this team 2 months ago. I mean, same with Walker Jenkins and Manuel Rodriguez, and until recently, Alan Rodin.
So we've been saying that a lot this year, and I'm going to push back on that a little bit. I think for Kalen Culpepper, you can maybe make that argument, but even then, the Twins clearly have valued Brooks Lee this year, which is fair. He's been a positive WAR player for them this year, but I think to have even started the year at him with shortstop was optimistic. And then following that up, they've been pretty enamored with Ryan Kreidler at shortstop, and just in general, he's cooling off a little bit. I don't know that I really believe in the Twins to do the right thing with some of these young guys because A, they haven't in the past, and B, there has been some opportunity. I mean, Walker Jenkins is healthy right now.
Okay, but also the rest of the outfield's playing well, right? Like Keishel's playing every day in right. You're hoping Buxton's back in center soon, and you have Larnick in left. Like the outfield group is playing well.
I would like to remind you that Austin Martin started in left field today.
Yeah, because it's against a left-handed pitcher, and you're not like Walker Jenkins is also a left-handed hitter. Like, how does that help you?
I would like Walker Jenkins against a left-handed pitcher more than I would Austin Martin. I'm tired. I'm done.
What happens when a righty comes in? Because you're calling up Walker Jenkins to play every day, and who are you taking playing time away from then?
Austin Martin and
Austin Martin doesn't play against righties. We just established that.
Whatever the platoon is in right field, then let's get
Keisha has a 400 on base percentage in his last 230 plate appearances.
So then let him play DH and put Victor Caratini and Alex Jackson on the bench. I don't care. I want to see our star players at a time when we need star players to give us star results.
Okay, I mean, that's fair. It's hard to defend Victor Caratini playing against lefties. I know he's hot, but
not quite that hot.
Yeah.
You got another number for me there, Matt.
I do. 30.
30. Ooh. So I'm going to hope this isn't a counting stat because outside of home runs, we should be well past 30 for any sort of counting stat. Unless we're talking bullpen. All right, first guess. I'm going to say 30 leads blown by the bullpen this year.
It is a pitching stat, but 30 is the number of players to have taken the mound for the Twins this year.
You know, that's really funny because I have that exact same number on my sheet here, except mine is 28 because I did not count the 2 player position appearances.
Yeah, you got to count the position players, man. Shout out Orlando Arcia and Alex Jackson.
And I'll add on to that here, a bonus number for us. 2. You know what 2 is?
Number of position players to take the mound?
Not quite. That is the number of pitchers, both starting and relief, that both started the year on the Twins roster and have stayed there for the entire season.
Okay. So that's
Joe Ryan is the obvious one. The other one I also kind of forgot about, but I'm pretty sure he's still hanging around the roster, and I know he hasn't gotten hurt yet this year.
Taylor Rogers.
Yes, Taylor Rogers. The only two pitchers that have spent the entire season on the active roster for the Twins. That, I think, really speaks numbers to truly how bad the injury luck has been for this team this year.
I mean, injury luck, but also the bullpen outside of Cole Sands, there hasn't really been a whole lot of injuries in the bullpen. They've just been bad.
No, for sure. But I mean, we had a very solid and established 5-man rotation when the season started, and we've seen another 2 or 3 relievers come in and go since then. The fact that out of all those guys, the only one to not spend any days on the injured list being Joe Ryan kind of blows my mind.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of those guys didn't get injured; they just got cut. Like,
yes,
I mean,
like Taj Bradley, Bailey Ober, now even Connor Prelip all went to the injured list. Pablo Lopez, obviously, he's not going to count towards these numbers. Also on the injured list for the year. Like, we could field a probably top 10 rotation in baseball just off of guys who saw the injured list this year.
yeah, I mean, if we're talking only starting pitchers, sure, but also it's easy to get down to just like we've only had this one guy who's been healthy all year when you're starting from a group of 5 and you're talking about the pitchers who throw the most innings.
Yeah,
like,
but not,
at some point, I mean, most of the rotation will get hurt at some point in the season.
Yeah, but we're talking, at least I guess for Connor Prelip, guys who even came up, like the reinforcements are starting to get hurt too. And obviously I do believe that Connor Prelip's blister is a real issue that he needed to sit and heal from, but it really did just come at a convenient time for the Twins, and that he was already really pushing himself innings wise and was almost certainly about to start being not phased out of the rotation, but certainly pitching less just to preserve himself. So it's tough. We knew that we were going to run into some of these issues, and I think they in some ways prepared for that, but I'll say that we've had crap luck this year.
Okay, I'll also say your stat still is starting with a denominator of 5 because it's not counting guys who just came up and have stayed healthy. Like Zebby Matthews has made every turn in the rotation since coming up. Like he hasn't spent any time on the injured list. He just started in AAA.
But
so,
he's
like, the denominator
only guy
is 5.
that came up and has done that.
Okay, well, because it's like one rotation spot for most of this time.
It has been kicked around a little bit, but like, man, I would have liked to have seen really Connor Prelip or Kendry Rojas come in and really just claim that and take that spot and make it their own. And for a little
Connor
bit,
Prelip has done that.
Prelip
He made every turn in the rotation until his blister injury. Like he made 13 consecutive starts.
So yeah, it's a small number, but it's still, to me, just really kind of comical that we have 30 guys who've made pitching appearances, which I know is, I think, the 3rd most in baseball from what I remember seeing. And the fact that out of all that, only 2 of them started the season on the active roster does kind of blow my mind.
All right, Eric, what's your next stat?
Ooh, let's see where I want to go here. I have one I'm going to save you for last because it's really difficult and diabolical, but I do think it kind of paints a good light on this team. Instead, I am going to give you a big number, 709.
I'm going to say the pace that Brooks Lee is on for plate appearances.
God, how often do guys hit 700 plate appearances?
It's pretty much only guys who play every day and hit at the top of a lineup.
Would make sense. That certainly does not sound like Brooks Lee to me. So no, that's not where we're looking here.
I mean, Brooks Lee plays a lot and has been hitting second or third in a lot of lineups.
We got a pitching stat here.
It's a pitching stat?
Yep.
Innings by relievers that the Twins are on track for.
God, no. Thankfully, the bullpen is not going to be quite that involved in our season.
They're at 352 so far.
That's a lot. That is a lot. Well, so we played, 90 games?
They just hit their 100th game today.
100th
so,
game.
Like,
so
not
that's,
quite.
a bit over 3.5 innings per game from the relievers, which seems reasonable to me. I mean, you're telling me that with the starters we've had, including guys like Mike Paredes getting starts, Kendry Rojas and Connor Prelip not really pitching deep, for our relievers to only average 3.5 innings per game does seem like a pretty good mark to me.
Yeah, it's not bad.
709, though, is the number of runners stranded on base by Twins pitchers this season, which is tied for the 6th most in the league. I liked this stat because I think it shows that while this team has been really bad at pitching and has had a lot of blowups, it still could have been a lot worse. Like, this isn't really a case of, guys who are pitching well just getting shelled and having, Emilio Pagan type performances where it's really boom or bust. This has not been a good pitching performance by the Twins, I would say, from top to bottom.
Okay, the counterpoint to that would be you can strand a lot of runners on base when you let up a lot of base runners. And so
that was kind of the point I was trying to get at, is even though we've given up a lot of runs, we've left even more runs on base. I think that this isn't a situation like I mentioned Emilio Pagan where like he's either striking out the side or something's going over the fence and clearing the bases and nothing in between. I think this has just been a case of Twins pitchers constantly having their backs against the wall and having nowhere to go.
Yeah, and I will say they're due for some positive regression. Twins pitching staff as a whole has a 4.62 ERA with a lower 4.34 FIP and a 4.51 xFIP. So my next stat, I think I already mentioned a stat with a similar number, but it is 7.
7. Once again, thinking defensive runs saved or outs above average. We did talk about at least DRS earlier in this segment. I'm going to go with 7 errors committed this season by Cody Clemens, which is the fewest on the team.
So it is position player, but it's not defensive. 7 Twins hitters that have an above league average WRC plus that play every day. So like we also have Ryan Kreidler and Gabby Gonzalez in his 4 plate appearances and Alex Jackson who have over 100, not counting them, but 7 regulars with above average WRC pluses. That is Byron Buxton, Ryan Jeffers, Trevor Larnach, Cody Clemens, Brooks Lee, Luke Keeschel, and Josh Bell.
I mean, I think that right there is why we want to believe in this team this season so badly, right? Like, not only have we been much more successful than we thought we would be, but you can see, like, you can tangibly see the success where it's coming from, and it feels kind of repeatable to me.
Counterpoint, those are 7 hitters, 2 of which are even decent defenders.
That is true. It's very much a give and take, and I think that's where the ceiling comes in, Like, we would like to see really well-rounded athletes out there hitting the crap out of the ball, but I was listening to the Gleeman and the Geek most recent episode, headed down to the cities this weekend, and they made a good point. Like, it's been a while since we've had prospects to dream on that we really dreamt about being both good hitters and defenders. Obviously, Royce Lewis is going to be just an unfortunate situation. I think without those ACL tears taking away so much of his athleticism, he could have been a great defender. But you talk about this list of guys that we've been waiting to come up. I mean, you can go all the way back to Miguel Sano, who was a terrible defender. You had Matt Wallner, who we all knew was going to hit the crap out of the ball and play no defense. Trevor Larnach was a, just kind of lesser version of that as a prospect. Even Alex Kirilloff, profiled as mainly a corner outfielder and first baseman who was going to have to hit his way onto the roster. So it kind of just feels like a part of the Twins now. It just kind of feels like an identity almost to me.
Yeah, I mean, also you could say that the Twins have corrected by choosing up the middle defenders they think have a chance to play both ways, and that's also been to some mixed success. I mean, they didn't draft him, but they traded for Austin Martin. At the time, he was still a shortstop. They probably never envisioned him being a major league shortstop, but like he was an up the middle defender that they thought could hit a little bit. That hasn't worked out. He started to emerge as a decent defender in the corners, but he's still not much of a bat. Brooks Lee was a guy that they thought could stick at shortstop and be a plus hitter. We're seeing him as like a league average ish hitter that can't play shortstop and like has mixed reviews at third so far. I mean, Luke Keeschel was a college shortstop. Everyone knew he was going to play second base in the pros. They thought he could hit and play up the middle still. That hasn't worked out. He's still hitting, but he's not getting the power. Like it feels like they've gone from this guy's going to mash and we'll figure out where to play him to this guy might be a good hitter and he might be a good defender. We'll see what happens. And they've ended up with a lot of tweener guys.
So let me extend this to our current minor leaguers then, because I think we have kind of a different identity in the minor leagues right now where, Kalen Culpepper is supposed to be sticking at shortstop and definitely buoying some of our defense there whenever he does come up. Behind him at some point, we're going to have Merrick Houston, who was drafted as a glove first shortstop, who just happens to be hitting really well so far. You talk about Walker Jenkins, maybe not a center field stellar defender, but certainly plus defender in the outfield. We might be able to say the same thing about Emmanuel Rodriguez. I think he probably ends up being a little too slow for that. You can even extend it to this year's draft pick, Von Lackey, who was very much already a late first round type of pick just based off the defense he displayed alone before coming out and absolutely destroying ACC pitching this season. So do we believe that this is going to be the wave of Twins that actually turns that around? Or is this just going to be another situation of, oh, well, Kalen Culpepper's going to mash and we think he'll stick at shortstop, but in 2 years, he's also going to be playing fringy second base defense. And we're going to ask ourselves, where did we go wrong?
I definitely think the raw talent defensively is better than previous waves of prospects at the same time. We won't know until they get to the big leagues, and we won't know until they're a few years into their big league career. And even then, guys' bodies change, guys get slower, less athletic. Sometimes they have to move off of a position. So it definitely makes me feel better. I feel like we have a higher caliber of defenders in the organization right now. The proof is going to be in the pudding when those guys debut and we see how they play at the major league level. But it's exciting, at least preliminarily.
So I've got kind of one more thought here about our defense. I mentioned it a little bit earlier with Luke Keeschel and how I think it's unfair to ask him to pick up center field on the fly when that's very much the type of project that we should be working on in the offseason. You could point to really the entire team and say that. We've already talked about how nobody who started on opening day is still where they were at on opening day. Since then, they've moved Brooks Lee off short to third base, where he's been fine. He's been an okay defender, but again, he certainly had a lot more experience at shortstop, and that's where they were playing him through the offseason, and they really didn't seem to have plans to make that move until it started so poorly this year. You could say that Royce Lewis maybe would still be the third baseman if they didn't need to move Brooks Lee, but we knew that he was even limited at third base and was probably at best going to be slightly above league average. To me, it feels like we already knew we had a lot of defensive issues on this roster, and instead of plugging and playing and moving guys around this offseason to see if we could juice more out of this defense at a time where they had the ability to learn without the pressure, we've been asking everybody to do it on the fly this season, and that is just a recipe for disaster.
I will say a lot of those guys are just moving to positions they've previously played. Like Brooks Lee has played second base and third base in the majors before and throughout the minors and in college. It's like moving Brooks Lee to third isn't necessarily learning a new position on the fly. Royce Lewis got moved to second base all the way back in 2024. And so he's played a little bit there. I think first base is the real argument, right? Like he hadn't played first base before. He is learning that on the fly, but he did learn that in the minors. Like they didn't make him learn that in the big leagues. Luke Keeschel, yes, he's looked bad in the outfield this year. He did play the outfield primarily in
corner outfield, might I add.
No, he played. No. He played center field in the minors.
Really?
Yeah, he played a lot. He played more center field than he's played in the corners.
Huh. I always remembered him being a second base left field type of prospect when he was coming up.
Well, the thought was always that he's not going to have the arm to play center in the big leagues, but like in the minors coming up, he played a lot of center field. Also, similarly, Cody Clemens, the Twins have asked him to play first, second. I don't think they've played him at third yet this year, but he's played at third in the past in the big leagues. He's also played in both outfield corners. Like the only new spot for Clemens has been center field, but he's played the corner outfield enough that like I don't think that was a huge adjustment. And it was after a couple weeks of working with Grady Sizemore on playing center field before he did it in a game. So like I get where you're coming from, but really the only guy learning a completely new position on the fly is Royce Lewis, and he at least had some minor league exposure this year.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's still better than just digging in their heels and trying to, keep rocking with our opening day alignments, but it certainly leaves a lot to be desired still. I do want to keep us moving here. I have actually two numbers for you here that go together. Because I'm hitting you with a double whammy, I will give you a little help off the bat. This is another offensive based stat. Your two numbers here are 39.7% and 41.9%.
What are the two percentages again?
39.7 and 41.9, and these two numbers do go together.
Matt Wallner's strikeout rates the last 2 years.
Comical, believable. No, we are looking at total team stat here.
Offensive. 39%. Ground ball rates.
I'll give it to you, all right? That's the first one. 39.7% is the Twins' ground ball rate this season, which is the fourth lowest in the league.
The other one's going to be fly ball rate then.
Not quite. 41.9% is the Twins' pull rate, actually, this season as a team, which is the fifth highest in the league. The reason that I pulled these two and paired them together is I think it's another way of both explaining the Twins' success on offense this season, but also at least a little bit highlighting their developmental program. So to me, what do you tell every hitter, right? You want to elevate the ball and you want to pull the ball. That's how you get to power. That's how you get to success on offense. And as a team, they've largely been doing that. They have the fourth lowest ground ball rate in the league and the fifth highest pull rate in the league, which means they are keeping the ball off the ground and they're pulling it to their strong side, which would in theory mean that they're getting to more power. Obviously, they don't have a ton of just straight home run hitters anyway, so it's not going to show up in the raw slugging numbers. But to me, that is the recipe for success on offense, is it not?
Yeah, I mean, that's also how you get a guy with fringy power like Brooks Lee to look like he's going to pop 20 plus homers this year, right? Like it allows you to make the most of not great power. And that's why we've seen guys like Isaac Paredes is the poster child for this. He has very middling batted ball numbers. He doesn't hit the ball especially hard, but he's very good at just elevating the ball to his pull side. That's also why the Astros love him, because he can just live on that short porch and left.
Certainly is helpful when you have such a feature. Couldn't imagine having something as childish and exploitable as, say, maybe a really, really short porch in right field.
Also, for Twins fans, this is exactly how Brian Dozier got to power. I don't know how many times I saw Brian Dozier just hit like a line drive that just wraps just inside the left field foul pole. Like he was really one of the first to just be like, I'm going to pull everything in the air. And then that's how you have a 5'6" second baseman hit 40 bombs.
I was just going to say, all love to Brian Dozier, because how can you not as a Twins fan? That man does not look like a power hitter. Nothing about that man should have been able to get to 40 bombs. But I did mention this is also a developmental success for the Twins. I mean, we've been giving them a lot of flack, and I think a lot of it is reasonable because we've seen a lot of guys who've come up with high hopes and not performed well. We've seen guys come up with high hopes, begin their career well, and not be able to sustain that success. But when we are able to step back and look at total team success, we see this year a team that is surprisingly leading the American League still in runs scored by not hitting the ball into the ground and by pulling the ball like really hard a lot. And to me, that has to be attributed to the way that the Twins have been preaching their development to their hitters.
Also, if we can back up for a second, I do just want to talk a little bit more about Brian Dozier. I think he doesn't get enough credit for being one of the best second basemen in baseball for the mid 2010s. For 2013 through 2017, he put up WARs of 2.9, 4.5, 3.1, 6.6, and 6.0. He was a dog for some terrible Twins teams.
Absolutely. And I hate that I'm going to say this because it feeds into what I think is a very false narrative about Minnesota being a small market that gets no love and attention in the national media. It's not a shock that Brian Dozier will go criminally underrated for the 2010s because, as you mentioned, he played for some absolutely terrible Twins teams. Like, there was no reason to talk about those teams other than Brian Dozier.
Are you saying that the national media wasn't chomping at the bit to talk about such accomplished teammates as Jamie Carroll and Matt Tolbert?
I would be shocked if the national media even knew who Mike Tolbert was and weren't conflating him with the fullback, who I believe has the same name, that played for the Panthers for about a decade.
Hey man, you're a Twins fan and you just call him Mike Tolbert. It was Matt. I mean,
See, Mike Tolbert is the fullback that I was talking about. That's how easy it would have been to conflate the two.
Yeah, there's some bad teams.
Absolutely. So, how about another number for me instead?
105.
105. So we played 100 games. That would mean that we're at about one a game, if this is a counting stat. I'm going to say, honestly, I'm going to take a shot here. 105 times the Twins have grounded into a double play this year.
$105 million payroll, which is nearly $60 million below where they were at in 2023.
That one felt like a layup. I definitely should have gotten there because how could we not know that number like by heart at this point?
Yeah, I mean, it's been said and said again a million times, but it's pretty easy to think about how much better this Twins team would look if they had spent some of that $60 million, maybe like $30 million on a starting pitcher and some relief help. This team would look a lot different. They'd probably be leading the AL Central, and they would be for sure buying at the deadline.
Another fun mini game for us to play here then. We're both going to submit our guess. What do you think that number is at post-trade deadline? I will go first. I really, really want to believe that this Twins team is going to add more than they're going to subtract. I can't believe that it's going to happen, though. I want to. I can't. I'm going to say if we're at 105, I think we trade Jeffers. I don't know that we trade Joe Ryan. I don't think we're quite that desperate.
Keep in mind that by the time we get to the deadline, it'll only be a third of their salary left.
Oh, that is a fair point. So I'll drop those numbers. I'll say 95. I think we shed about $10 million in payroll at the deadline.
I think we'll... It's either going to go up or it's going to go down. Like the exact number probably won't change that much. It's like $10 million either way.
Yeah.
I mean, although if they add $10 million in payroll, they had a hell of a deadline.
Yeah, if they add $10 million, it is, and the flip side is true too. When you're at $105 million already, it's such an abysmally low payroll. They really can't drop a whole lot more salary. Like they could. That's not a challenge. If you're out there listening, Tom Pohlad, Jeremy Zoll, I promise you, this is not a challenge. But they really can't drop that much more salary at this point, right?
Yeah, I think it's probably going to be about the same. I mean, we talked on the last episode about what we think they're going to do at the deadline. I think they'll probably take a sensible middle route where they just pick up some guys who raise the floor but aren't stars and they don't cost a lot. And maybe if they're not great going into the deadline, they move on from a guy like Ryan Jeffers and get some prospects in return or trade him for a reliever. I think it's going to be a buying and selling kind of deadline or like a very soft buy.
Yeah, I mean, at the least, it really cannot bode well for Ryan Jeffers at all that Alex Jackson is still on this roster, right? Like, you already covered it. I get why it's happening, but Alex Jackson's also a guy that already cleared waivers once before the season started. He's probably played well enough where he wouldn't if he got waived again. As you mentioned, he's probably tradable. But either way, the fact that they still have him up means that they probably have to be leaning towards trading Ryan Jeffers right now still, right?
They're keeping their options open. I think if they win, like if they take 3 out of 4 against Cleveland and they like then play 500 ball through the deadline, and they're right around 500 and they're keeping pace in the division, I think they probably won't get a big enough return for Jeffers to justify trading him. And they just add a couple of low wattage relievers and see how the season plays out. And they maybe deal like Jackson or maybe Caratini, and they just go with Jeffers down the stretch. Because also, if they're winning over the next couple weeks, Jeffers will probably be a big part of that. If Jeffers continues to play well, look like he did to start the year, he starts to become like a no-brainer qualifying offer guy. And again, Twins team with a low payroll, an owner who said he wants to spend more money, and it was only a low payroll because he took over the team too late. Maybe spending $25 million on a 1-year deal for a catcher isn't so crazy. He then becomes like a core part of the lineup for next year, bridges the gap to Lackey in 2028. And if he declines it, you get a first-round pick. I feel like the qualifying offer is a reasonable alternative to just trading Jeffers. And it gives you 2 more months of Ryan Jeffers in a season where you're trying to contend.
I actually think it's a really interesting conversation. If Ryan Jeffers gets the qualifying offer, do you think he would accept it?
I mean, he would set the AAV record for a catcher by like several $1 million.
Exactly.
So I think he probably would accept it. But
And at
like
that rate-
also $25 million for a 30-year-old catcher that is going to hit in the heart of your order. He's going to be a decent defender and bridges the gap to your top 20 prospect in baseball. He's probably up the year after anyways. That's a great situation.
That's exactly what I was going to say too. Like, it's a 1-year deal. If you're at all serious about committing money to this roster, I don't need to see it at the deadline. Obviously, it'd be cool if we did. But to me, that's the most no-brainer of no-brainer options. I think if you want to commit money to this roster for them to be good, the easiest way to do that is say, hey, yeah, we're going to bring back the star catcher on a 1-year deal that's going to pay him a lot of money, more money than he probably deserves. Love Ryan Jeffers. I don't think that he should be the first catcher to reset that catcher AAV deal by that ridiculous of an amount. Even if he accepts, I think you can stomach that for 1 year, and it would just be great all around. It would be great for team morale. It would be great for fan morale. It would be great for the success of the Minnesota Twins, and it would at least fit what Tom Pohlad says he wants to do.
There's a couple of core tenets that I think we see a lot of front offices swear by and mention anytime they're talking about a deal. And like one of them, there's no such thing as too much pitching depth, which is also accompanied by there's no such thing as a pitching prospect, meaning until they're in the big leagues and healthy, they're all nebulous and uncertain and you can't count on them. There's also no such thing as a bad 1-year deal. If it blows up, cool. This was a rough season. On to the next. We'll move on in the off season.
Yeah, I think we might see that perhaps die with the addition of a potential salary cap into MLB, but that is so far off of our radar that I would like to never worry about that. Instead, I'm going to come back at you. I'm going to give you my last number of the podcast here. I teased it. This one is really difficult. It's really niche, and it really doesn't mean all that much, but I saw it, and I did think it's kind of funny and has a little cool story behind it. Your number is 5.
Can you explain some of the niche behind it? Like, how is it niche?
So this is a counting stat, and it's 5 is not necessarily a super low number. Like, it is. The Twins rank 28th on the season in this stat, but like number one is not that big of a number. I would guess maybe 50 would top the leaderboard, 60. That would be a lot.
Huh.
And it is a team stat.
Oh, only okay, but like 5 to 50 or 60, that's a I mean like
All right, 60
That's-
might have been shooting the moon. I would say maybe 40 to 50 is probably more likely. I'm going to look this up now actually for you.
so my first thought was caught stealing attempts, but they're definitely way over 5. Also like sack bunts could be up there, but also like teams aren't going to lay down 30 or 40 or definitely not 50 or 60 sack bunts.
Okay, I take it back. I way overshot the moon. The leaderboard for this stat right now is 22 at number 1 and it's the Houston Astros. That's another big hint.
Ooh. 22. The Twins only have 5 because Astros, I thought starting pitchers used because the Astros have had a lot of starting pitching injuries. But like the Twins have used more than 5.
We thought we were bad. 22 starters over 100 games would be like, I would be in a ball on the floor crying.
Yeah, it'd be like, all right, our high A guys now in there. Although a lot of those would probably just be like openers or 2 or 3 inning
I
guys.
suppose. Also, while you think, I'm going to shout out again how funny it is to see every other team on this leaderboard with city team name, as it should be, except for the Athletics or just the Athletics because they're homeless.
Yeah. Oh, but 22. This is really compelling podcast material for everyone listening. This is just going to be a lot of me oohing and awing that'll probably get cut out as I internalize my thoughts. Like, my other thoughts were like relievers with a save, but like 22 is going to be way off for the Astros. I also thought about like number of outfielders used or like number of position players, but that doesn't make any sense.
The Astros leading this stat makes a lot of sense for one big reason. Once I give it to you, this is all going to make a lot of sense.
Like opposite field homers from left-handed hitters.
All right, do you just want this number?
Sure.
5 is the number of times the Twins have been intentionally walked this season, which
And it's
is
Yordan.
Yep,
Yordan.
Yordan is the reason that the Astros are so high, and that puts them one above the Red Sox and the Tigers for lowest in the league. The only reason I like this stat is like the Twins, you would think that a team that leads the league, the American League at least in runs, would have something going for them that would compel a team to not want to face certain hitters. And the Twins really don't. The only hitters on this lineup I would ever really see getting intentionally walked would be Buxton and maybe Jeffers. I don't at my hand have the numbers on who those 5 hitters were, but it's really cool to me to see a team that doesn't really have a lot of those imposing forces in the lineup still lead the American League in runs. Like, again, the Astros make sense. It's Yordan. He's going to get intentionally walked a ton because he's the best hitter in baseball, having one of the most historic hitting seasons we've seen, and he's singularly propelling that offense. I think this has really been one of the truest team performances I've seen out of a Twins offense since maybe the 2019 Bomba Squad. Okay, I actually can tell you who our 5 culprits are here. And surprisingly, Byron Buxton is only one of these intentional walks. Your other 4 is one apiece from Trevor Larnach, makes some sense. Luke Keeschel, again, makes some sense. Cody Clemens, who would probably be my third guess behind Ryan Jefferson Buxton. And I could not tell you why, but Victor Caratini once.
Yeah, the Caratini one has to be like a lefty on the mound, and like Wallner was on deck.
Yeah,
Like,
you would
that's the
assume
only way
it's
it makes sense.
something to do with the platoon, and I'd imagine the bases were probably empty. I know you rarely see bases empty intentional walks, but like maybe if it's second and third, you'd rather face Wallner instead of Caratini, but I don't know. I don't think there's really going to be much justification for intentionally walking Victor Caratini.
Yeah. Like second and third and 2 outs, and you just want to force anywhere, and you have maybe a better matchup on deck, and you just walk Caratini to throw to. But even in that situation, you like don't necessarily want to load the bases and leave yourself no wiggle room to throw to the next hitter.
Dude, this is kind of a fun rabbit hole to go down. I'm like, surely this doesn't happen to him often, right? And you'd be right. He's been intentionally walked 13 times in his 10-year career. But for some reason, 8 of those came in 2021 when he was in San Diego. You're thinking, oh, that must have been a boom year for Victor Caratini,
No,
right?
He was batting 8th and the pitcher was sitting behind him. That was when the pitcher was still in the NL.
Yeah, okay. See, that's the type of thing that we're gonna lose to history. The idea of the pitcher batting, like, already well past my head, but that makes a lot of sense how a guy would rack up 8 intentional walks while rocking a 632 OPS. Good for a 78 OPS plus, if you were wondering.
Well, this was a fun rabbit hole to go down. Eric, do you have anything else for us?
Buy the Twins, buy stock in the Twins, buy for the Twins. Tom Pohlad, if you're listening, sell the Twins. In all other cases, we should be celebrating as fans that we care so much about the day-to-day performance of this team in July and that we're still hanging on every single game. So please, because there's a chance that this goes south and we won't be able to do this much longer, pay attention to the Twins because we're watching some fun baseball right now.
Yeah, as always, you can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube. We drop every Wednesday morning. We also are both active on Twitter. I've also started posting on Twins Daily, so you can go ahead and find my articles there if you want more written out explanations of my thoughts on the Twins. But we will continue talking about them all season, all off season, and all of next season. So if you like what you've heard here, feel free to come back every week and we'll keep on rambling about the Hometown 9. Thanks, everyone.